Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Bailey here, and welcome to another live-action TV show review. I know it's been a while since I did the last one. I think the last live-action TV show review I did was for H2O back in June, but this time I'm doing a review on a show that I know a lot of you have been watching for the past few weeks, since January 15th, and that is WandaVision. Yep, that's right. I am reviewing WandaVision. We finally get our first bit of Marvel content in the MCU, and it all started back on January 15th, and just ended this past Friday, March 5th. So, to get into it, WandaVision is a show that takes place after Avengers Endgame, and it takes place, I think, 3 weeks after the show, or 3 weeks after the events of Avengers Endgame, and it takes place within the span of 1 week. So, and basically it shows how Wanda still feels grief over the loss of Vision 5 years prior, and she finds out that S.W.O.R.D., which is the new iteration of S.H.I.E.L.D., however, in the comics, the original pronunciation of S.W.O.R.D. was Sentient World Observation and Response Department, and now I think this new version of S.W.O.R.D. stands for Sentient Weapon Observe and Response Division. So it's based on Sentient Weapon instead of Sentient World, or whatever. So, and to be fair, this could basically hint to our introduction to the mutants in the MCU, which spoiler alert for if you haven't seen the episode 8 of WandaVision, she does get name dropped as the Scarlet Witch, which is her key X-Men mutant character name in the comics. And there was a lot of pretty crazy surprises in this show. Like, I believe it was in episode 5, we got to see the return of a specific actor, per se, playing who we thought was the X-Men version of Peter Maximoff, Evan Peters, and basically playing Pietro Maximoff in this series, and at first we were thinking, where is Aaron Taylor-Johnson? But then it was revealed later on in the show that he actually wasn't who we thought he was. We thought he was the X-Men Universe version, but unfortunately it was revealed that he was supposedly the Ralph that we kept hearing Agnes, aka Agatha Harkness, which it was revealed in episode 7 that she truly was Agatha Harkness this entire time. I mean, we knew she was probably Agatha Harkness. It was no doubt based on her name being Agnes, basically a shortened version of Agatha Harkness. But anyway. So, however, she kept mentioning the name Ralph as her so-called husband. Now, even though it was revealed that Evan Peters was playing some random guy character named Ralph Boner, it's really weird why they gave him that last name. However, the only thing we didn't get clarification on is he had Quicksilver's powers, but is it possible that it was only because of that necklace that Monica Rambeau took off of him that caused him to have those powers? If so, then yeah, that's probably a shame. But, well, actually, now that I think about it, he wasn't even wearing the necklace in the Halloween episode. I don't think he was. So if he somehow has Quicksilver's powers without having the necklace on, then it could be possible that he really is the Peter Maximoff that we got from the X-Men movies. But not only do we get that, it was also revealed that Monica Rambeau starts to develop her powers in this show, and to either become Photon, which is the nickname of her mother, Maria Rambeau, or Spectrum, which is another recent name she's used in the comics. And we see her use three different types of power in this show. The first time was when she pushes her way through the hex, and her eyes light up blue, and she sees all the different electrons going around the electricity towers, and then we see her open up Agatha Harkness's basement doors, and she sees the purple stuff, and she basically analyzes that through her eyes, and that's when we see Peter, or Evan Peters' character, confront her, and then the last power we see her use is when the supposed acting sword director, Tyler Hayward, goes to shoot at Wanda's kids. She jumps in front of them to save them, which clearly Tyler Hayward wasn't aiming for them, because he was literally looking like he was aiming right in the middle. But as she went in to jump in the way, her body sort of turned into a yellowish, invisible type of, or see-through type of form, and her eyes lit up in yellow. I was really surprised at how we see her develop her powers in the show. And we also get a huge surprise cameo by one character from the comics who we didn't think was possible, but it turns out, even at the beginning of the show, when it was sought to believe that, I think it was in episode 5, I believe it was in episode 5, it was revealed that Tyler Hayward made it seem that she stormed the sword compound and stole the Vision's body and resurrected him, which, according to Jimmy Woo, was in violation of the Sokovia Accords. But it was revealed in episode 8 that Tyler Hayward lied this entire time, and he secretly needed a bit of Wanda's magic, which was given to him in episode 5, I believe, and he uses that energy to re-energize the original Vision's body, but becoming the West Coast Avengers comics version of White Vision. Yep, White Vision was introduced in the post-credits scene of episode 8. We see him fight the Hex version of Vision in episode 9, and we see Agatha Harkness fully take on Wanda, and we see Wanda in her iconic Scarlet Witch outfit by the end of the episode, and it was revealed that the book we saw near the end of episode 7 that Wanda stared at was indeed the MCU version of the Darkhold, which means we could definitely be seeing characters like Ghost Rider, Blade, a bunch of different characters show. We are definitely getting a Blade project coming out soon. We don't know if it's going to be PG-13 or R, but we got confirmation that the third Deadpool movie that takes place in the MCU is in fact rated R. They're keeping that franchise rated R, unfortunately. Now, I wonder how that's going to play out when he has to be part of an Avengers movie or something, which stays PG-13. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but like I said, we get introduced to Monica Rambeau as a much older adult who develops her powers, and we'll see her character even develop further in Captain Marvel 2, which comes out about a year and a half from now in November of 2022. At least that is if we can still get the MCU movies that are currently slated right now to stay in their release dates. And specifically with Black Widow, because that's the first ever movie that, even though that doesn't take place after Endgame, I still want them to release it, just because it's been a whole year since we were supposed to see it, and we didn't get it because of the whole pandemic. But now that the vaccine's been distributed and administered into many different people's arms, I feel like we could start to see a bit of back to normality, especially with New York theaters reopening, and I'm going to be going back to my job pretty soon, hopefully by the end of the month, for my theater location. But, anyways, so, like I said, and we even get revealed, even though Monica kept mentioning an aerospace engineer, we see someone who was possibly just already the engineer, named Major Goodner, but it was revealed later in the first post-credit scene of episode 9 that she was in fact a Skrull who was sent by an old friend of her mother's, which, who do we know who's a human who could have sent them to go get Monica? Nick Fury himself. Because if you remember, Spider-Man Far From Home does take place in the MCU, but it takes place after the events, like 8 months after the events of Endgame. The WandaVision show only takes place a few weeks after Endgame. So, it seems like Nick Fury recruited Monica Rambeau after developing her powers, and that's why so it's definitely revealed that that's station we see on, that we see Nick Fury on in the post-credit scene of Far From Home was in fact the Peak, which is the space-based version of SWORD. And I see, maybe this time we could see, SWORD does actually stand for what it does in the comics, but it's Hayward who tweaked the title a little bit just for the Earthbound version, because he wanted to, maybe it can mean both things. Like I said, SWORD base on the ground can mean Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Department, and the space-based one could be SWORD Sentient World Observation and Response Division. I mean, like I said, the SWORD base that's up on the P could be based on world threats, and Sentient Weapon could be based on threats that may be coming from Earth, i.e. the mutants. Because technically we know that Wolverine is considered a sentient weapon because his original claws were not metal, and then they created him to have metal claws. Now, it's unfortunate that we might not be able to see Hugh Jackman play Wolverine anymore, because he was a great actor playing Wolverine. I mean, he even kind of referenced his Wolverine act in another movie I once saw, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, when he was talking to Lancelot and he did that whole Wolverine thing. And even the girl next to him said he's doing his Wolverine thing, and everything. So I like how they reference that in a non-MCU movie, but anyway, so like I said, we got White Vision. We did get the kids who were able to get up to age 10 by the end of the show, even though they did disappear just like the Hex version of Vision did. We do see, however, at the end, in the second post-credits scene of episode 9, the last episode of the show, that it looks like Wanda is at some cottage in the mountains, and she goes to get upon a tea, but in reality, she does the same thing Doctor Strange does with his astral body, even though we see Wanda moving, but in reality, she's in the back room looking at the Darkhold, and it seems like she's trying to find her kids, because it's possible they could still be alive. I mean, we're getting not just Wiccan and Speed introduced, but we got Kate Bishop coming in the Hawkeye show. We got Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, coming in the Miss Marvel show. We got, who else do we got? I'm trying to think. Oh, you got America Chavez coming in Doctor Strange 2. We got Cassie Lang coming as Stature in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which has been revealed to have the main villain be Kang the Conqueror. So it's possible that we could see Kang as early on as maybe even the Loki show, which comes out in June this year. Which, like I said, as soon as I finish watching all the episodes of each Disney Plus show in the MCU, I will do a review on them. So, like I said, you'll probably see my review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier in April, but not until near the end of April, because the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out this 2 Fridays from now, on the 19th. But right now we're talking about WandaVision. Honestly, I didn't really... At first I was confused during the first 3 episodes of the show. That is until, like I said, Monica gets revealed at the end of episode 3 when she says he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? Again, Ultron reference. And then we see episodes 4... So basically episodes 4 through 9 or 4 through 6 were like a half sitcom, half real world applications, and then episodes 7 through 9 were basically no longer sitcoms because the show wasn't even airing after episode 6. It just took place in the Hex and outside of the Hex, but it was no longer based on the sitcom. And like I said, it was revealed that Agnes was Agatha Harkness, who is based on the Salem Witch Trials, and we do see a flashback in episode 8 of Agatha at the Salem Witch Trials in the year 1693, since it took place in the MCU, and people kept theorizing that Mephisto or Nightmare could show up. They never showed up, and even the stars themselves tried to say that there was like a Luke Skywalker type cameo like it was in The Mandalorian, which I did watch that show. It actually turned out to be pretty great, but it turns out there was no Luke Skywalker type cameo, unless they count that Skrulls appearance as a Luke Skywalker type cameo. But honestly, this show was okay, and like I said, if not for because the last 3 episodes kind of got to me, I'm honestly gonna give this TV show a 4 out of 5. This was a pretty decent show when it comes to the MCU, and I'm really excited for when Falcon and Winter Soldier airs. Not this Friday, but next Friday. And then, like I said, you won't see my review of Falcon and Winter Soldier until after April 23rd, which is when it ends. So, and honestly, in my opinion, they need to, because they've already finished airing WandaVision, and now they're going to be airing Falcon and Winter Soldier, they cannot push any of the Marvel movies back anymore. They need to make a decision. If movie theaters don't start to get back to normalcy, like, if my theater truly does open back up near the end of the month, or at least the theater chain that I work for opens up during the end of the month, and I work for at least a week before I go on vacation in April, then come back, if we start to see the box office numbers start to go a little bit higher now that New York's theaters are open, and Los Angeles is going to follow shortly after that, probably by the end of this week. Who knows? We could see, by the end of this week, or maybe by the end of next week, we could see Los Angeles theaters opening up. And then not too far after that, we have my theater chain's theaters opening up, because my theater chain's the only one that's still technically closed all their locations in the U.S. The other 2 theater chains are still open, are starting to open back up again. But all I know is that Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming up. Really excited about that. But anyways, let me know what y'all think of my review, and I will see all you dudes in the next video.